So you're a health educator and you want to conduct your first health group coaching session. This is what we're going to talk about today. In fact, after doing hundreds of group coaching sessions myself, there's some lessons that I've learned the hard way and some I don't want to repeat. And I see a lot of times as I work with health educators, naturopathic doctors, wellness coaches, speakers from across the world, there's some patterns I notice, some common mistakes that many health educators make that makes their coaching sessions less effective, or their clients not follow through, or not really get as much value as they'd like to. So we're going to dive into this. And first of all, let's talk about why would you want to do group coaching? Because if you look at doing one-on-one client work, there's some extreme limitations to this. If you look at your calendar, then having 5 clients on your calendar doing a one-on-one coaching is going to fill your calendar very quick. And that adds up fast, especially if you are a mother that you want to spend time with your family, or if you have a business to run, or if you have a life to live. Spending tons of time of your hours of your day doing one-on-one, you've now connected your income generation to the most limited resource that you possibly have, which is your time. Whereas with working with group coaching, let's say you have 50 clients in a group coaching call, this is what your calendar looks like in an evergreen group that people can join at any time. So now, instead of filling up your calendar, which you can't have 50 hours in a day, right? But we could sure try. But now you're able to serve 50 clients plus and still support them and guide them and help them through this facilitated group. And people can get raging testimonials, reviews, massive results, and great experience. I know for myself, when I was doing one-on-one calls, I was doing around 8 calls a day. And at the end of each day, I was just realizing there are so much more people out there to reach that are interested in working with me that I don't have the time capacity to do it. So I was trying to find the time by fitting it in my breakfast and my lunch and different breaks, and just try to get on the calls with the people. And it wasn't really working. It wasn't sustainable. And I was doing so many calls that my team saw me sleeping one time, and I had my hand up, and they're like, look, Enoch's on the calls so often, he's even taking calls in his sleep. And they were just kind of being playful, but it just kind of illustrates that it can be exhausting. So what I'm going to share with you is how can you conduct your first health group coaching call? What does that look like? What to expect? How can you add the most value for the people that you're working with? My first tip that I would share is don't be afraid to start with one person in your group coaching. Now, that might sound kind of counterintuitive, right? Like, wait, what do you mean one person if it's a group coaching call? That's totally acceptable. In fact, that's how a lot of people start their group coaching calls. Take Dr. Kendra Lee, for instance. She's a client of mine, and when she first joined, I was sharing, she was struggling to get clients for one-on-one clients for $1,500. And I shared with her, well, your prices are too low. Let's increase that. In fact, let's double your prices to at least a $3,000 group coaching experience. And she's like, $3,000? I'm having a hard time having people join at one-on-one for $1,500 for half of that. Why would they pay me more? Because we talked about not only just raising the price, but raising the value, the perceived value in her ideal clients. And actually, group coaching can be a higher perceived value than just one-on-one work. Now, one of her concerns in the beginning was, she's like, well, how could I sell them to a group coaching program when I don't have a program yet? And I asked her, well, when you were going to sell your one-on-one coaching, what were you going to sell? You didn't have a program, you didn't have a recording, you didn't have anything else, did you? She's like, well, no. Well, then do the exact same thing that you would have done on a one-on-one call, but the difference is you record it. You flip the recording on, and you just let them know in advance that you're going to do that, so that the expectations are set. And what you could share with them is what I always like to call the benefits of beginnings. Let's say if you don't have a coaching program, or you don't have clients yet in this group setting, that's actually for your favor and theirs. And this is how you can emphasize the benefits of beginning. Number one, you could say, you let them know up front, and you share with them, this is I'm starting a group coaching program. That means other people are going to be joining and we'll be able to do this together. But you would be the first client that we have. And since you're the first client, that means that you're going to get more one-on-one attention. It's going to be as though we're working with you more closely, and that also means you get to influence the curriculum, the training, what I'm actually able to cover to personalize it even more for you. So the first people who join while it's small are going to get some of the most access to me, and other people will join. And as we grow, our family will expand. And you'll get to learn from other people's questions and other people's experience too. And we're going to have this dynamic to support and cheer each other on. And then that frames it for your clients where they're excited. They're looking forward to this. And they're like, wow, the reason why they would not buy becomes the reason why they must. And then they were like, wow, I want to join now before it grows too much. And it gives people a sense of urgency that's based on truth, why they would want to join sooner rather than later. And I shared that with Dr. Kendra Lee. She's like, okay, I mean, I could do that. And I'll say this too. One big distinction between just one-on-one calls that you don't record and group coaching calls that you do record is in the model that I help my clients work with is I like to look at how can you have the highest amount of leverage? How can you do the highest amount of service and impact in the people's lives that you're reaching? And I realized that one-on-one calls that you do not record is not that. Now, I'm not saying you can't do one-on-one at all, but what I am suggesting is don't fall into the trap thinking that one-on-one client work is the most valuable, helpful work that you can do, because it's not necessarily the case. By being able to create a group coaching environment, it's a lot easier to record that when you set that expectation up in front. You let them know, hey, these calls will be recorded. Actually, I'm going to go through the first group of people on this framework, this process that we're taking you through to get this result, to be able, like Dr. Kendra Lee, to help retired women to lose weight, or to help reverse autoimmune disease, or to reverse your diabetes, or maybe like Reginate, her group coaching is to help women flatten their mommy tummy. So we're going to get you this result for the first few weeks, and we're going to take the recordings, and that will become an online course. That will become an on-demand coaching program of itself, self-contained. It has a start and a stop, very definite. And then those are going to be available for people who come in new. So now what Dr. Kendra Lee is able to do is she's been able to fill her group coaching program. She even had 3 people sign up on one call when the mother said, I need this, my husband needs this, and my daughter needs this. So they joined her program, and she's been able to get multiple clients who have paid her $3,000 again and again and again. And she's also been able to create a group wellness. It was like a 30-day kind of like walking them through, and she just loves working with the people. She has a lifestyle center. So this also works not just online, but also in person. You could do it with both. And she's been able to fill that program on multiple occasions, month after month, with her 30-day program that she's juicing and helping people to lose weight. And where before she was struggling to keep her doors open, but now what she has is she has an asset. She's recorded the initial trainings, and now when people join, she now has a recording, or a boot camp is what we call it, that people are able to get access to. So when they buy our $3,000 program, they're able to get access to that boot camp. I did that for some of my first clients. And another thing that is really helpful about this is when you have clients who are paying you a premium to go through a process, it actually makes your courses so much more valuable because you're able to address actual problems that they have live, interact, and you get to see real feedback live. Whereas if you're creating your courses in a vacuum or just in a studio, talking to a camera where there's no live interaction, then you have a teaching energy, but you don't have a learning energy. And a lot of times you might have an idea of what they need to do and what the steps are to get the results. But until you start coaching someone through that process, you're going to realize there's a handful of gaps or things that maybe were overlooked or that made sense to you but didn't necessarily make sense to them. And by being able to tailor that through their experience, what you're actually documenting at the end becomes so much more valuable for your future clients. So now what I did is I wanted to create a boot camp that's going to help people to become best-selling authors. You could see it right behind me, Best-Selling Author Secrets. That's our masterclass, but we have a best-selling book boot camp. And in that boot camp, my clients paid me $10,000 to go through, and I was coaching them through, and we did a workshop. And our goal is to publish a book. It was a personal challenge for me. I wanted to publish a book within 3 days, and I didn't end up, and I was publishing the book on high ticket health coaching. So this is, and we became a #1 best-selling author on these categories for health, and fitness, and what we did is we did not get it in 3 days. We ended up getting it in 4 days. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to document the process of how to publish a book in 4 days and show you that you don't have to wait years or months to publish your book and become a best-selling author and to get your message before the people. With the right framework and the right strategy, you can do this too. And I have my clients, one of them, Christopher, he was going through this process as we were coaching him through it. Not only were we publishing our book, we were helping our clients to publish their book, and they became best-selling authors. They finished their book in 2 weeks and they became best-selling authors as well. And what that really shows is that, hey, it's not just something we've done once, we've done it twice, and we've helped our clients to be able to do it too. And I wanted to document the process that would take people through that experience. Now, our clients knew that we are recording this process, and it will become a course, and we've had multiple people go through that course where now they're being coached step by step how to publish a book. And it doesn't require my active involvement. If they have questions, if there's challenges, hiccups that they face, or you get stuck at any time going through recordings, well, I have office hours to be able to answer those questions and solve valuable problems for the group. So Dr. Kendra Lee is going through publishing her book right now. She's got it. She's like, I'm an author now. This is awesome. It's a life event. But everyone who's gone through it since then, I wouldn't have to re-record the training over and over and over. It's actually able to walk people through a process so much better because I recorded myself taking our coaching clients through it. And instead of like charging $10,000 for each person to work with me and actually interact with each other, now we can have a much more affordable price, like $2,000 to go through the program, and they're able to become authors and launch their best-selling book. So it also, what I learned is that framing is very helpful for selling your programs too. So you could take the recordings and you can sell like several courses, one on autoimmune disease, one on weight loss, one on diabetes, one on different results that people want. It doesn't have to be just one, but with your coaching clients, you could teach them, walk them through a process, and then deliver that for them, like an intermittent fasting training you could do, and that could be a course in of itself. And you can sell those at a lower price and say, hey, my clients paid me $3,000 to get access to this. You could buy this program for $500 and it's yours. And it doesn't require more of your time. They're able to have access to the on-demand coaching that you have. Is this making sense? If this makes sense, type makes sense in the chat if things are connecting for you. So the real obstacle isn't that group coaching doesn't work. It's that we believed lies that make small feel safe. But you weren't called to safe, you were called to serve. And how many of you are ready to let go of the lies that made you play small? Type yes in the chat if you're ready to go to that next level and break through. One of the ways that you can do that is don't be afraid to start with one person in your group coaching. That's okay. Sometimes you're going to start with a group. Sometimes you're going to start with one and they will add, and that's totally fine. In fact, I've had some of my clients tell me that the reason they joined my group coaching program is because they saw that I really understood what I was talking about and I have deep depth of knowledge and experience in this area. And they wanted to work with me while there's fewer clients because they knew things were going to fill up fast. And the same reason is why people are going to want to join your group coaching program, even if they're the first person or the second or the third, and that's totally fine. So the second way, the conducting your first health coaching call is number 2 is to use a simple structure for each session. It really simplifies it when you could follow a system, right? So let's think about your first coaching session. One of the mistakes people often make is they start giving a list of 100 protocols and remedies and teas and herbs or exercises or things to do. They give them a big to-do list. And what that does is that overwhelms your clients. You don't want to do that on the first call. That is stressful. When they see, they're going to listen and walk away like there's this big mountain of health to climb. And just the sheer nature of how daunting that is going to stress them out. Instead, you want to give them, again, like a preview of their program. You want to discover their why. You want to dig into the reasons that reap results. Figure out, why are they here? How committed are they? Stack reasons why they could be committed and help them to understand what they invested in, so that and talk to them about, why is this important to you? What is your goal here? 6 months from now, what do you want to be? Who do you want to be? Or 8 weeks from now, what are your goals? And why are they important to you? And as you're able to get clear on their vision, then it gives them the fortitude to persevere through the ups and downs of the actual transformation process. And it helps you to understand where they're coming from and how does that work. So give them an exercise of really settling in. In our health education company, one of the first things we do is we'd actually go through like this 7-layer deep exercises, find their crystal clear why. And that basically says, like, what is the goal that they want? Why is it important to them? Why is that important to them? And we keep digging until about 7 layers. And then finally we find their crystal clear why, something that's so deep and compelling that it draws them forward beyond just what the surface reasons are. Because here's the thing, it's reasons that reap results. And so the second thing that you want to do at that point is you can teach part of your framework, but part of your framework that you want to be teaching is deal with the mindset, the aspects, start addressing their beliefs, the fears that they have that would hold them back from being able to succeed on this journey. Teach them how to think about exercise, about like how they're going to handle failure or challenges, or start talking to them about what are all of the obstacles in their heart and their mind. I would suggest that any time that you see very successful courses, coaching programs, seminars, or any frameworks where people are educating them, the first step in the framework or the first chapter of great books is always going to be something around mindset or beliefs that would help. It's basically like reselling. If they bought your book, you're helping to overcome buying remorse in the first training. If someone joined your coaching program, in that first training, you're helping them to get deeper reasons why to continue the path they already started. Don't think because you already sold them to say yes, that's it. And now you just dive into throwing all these tactics and techniques and these exercise routines and this list at them, because that's going to lose them very quickly. Many times they need to be resold on why they're here in the first place. And honestly, as often as you can, help to continue to sell them, to continue that journey, to follow your advice, to stay true to the path that they've taken. Does that make sense? Speaking of path, what I recommend that each person do is you want to create a roadmap to results. Before they join your program, create an outline. In this outline, you're going to see at some point they are sad, and at the end of your program, they're going to be glad. And you be very specific on what is the outcome. Because at the end of the day, and they're not paying for information, they're paying for transformation. That's really what they want. So get really clear on what is the transformation they will have as a result of working with you. And then see, what is the roadmap? That roadmap that you're going to take them through step by step in order to help them to be able to have the results that you're looking for. And that's part of the framework. Each step in your framework, that's what you're going to be teaching week after week. And I would submit to you that, let's say you have 8 steps in your framework, and there's going to be 8 modules in your course. that you're going to have, well, then that's going to be 8 weeks. The first 8 weeks of your coaching program, that's how you're going to do. So module 1, like their mindset, step 1. Module 2, week 2, it's going to be step 2 in your framework. And you're going to week 3, step 3, and you're going to walk them through week by week. And the goal is you want to begin with the end in mind. You want to be very intentional and strategic in how you coach them through the process, because at the end of these, you're going to have a course. So instead of feeling like I have to sit in a studio and talk to a camera, do all this video editing and pour all these months and hours in weeks into putting together a course that nobody paid for, nobody even raised their hand or voted with their dollars that they're going to buy it at all. Before you create it, you go through it, all this effort, and I've seen it happen a lot, only for you to sell and launch to crickets, where nobody said they're interested. This route allows you to get paid to create your program, and you're creating it with them, so it's going to be more valuable. It's going to be more relevant to actual clients who are going through this journey. And by the end of these, let's say 8 weeks, now you've got an asset. You've got an asset of adding value and solving problems for people. So at the end of you training teaching your framework portion, then you could open the floor for taking time for question and answers. If people want to repeat and enlarge or expand on some of the parts, you can do the Q&A. This is where you're able to open the floor for live questions, where if something was unclear or people got it or they didn't, and the more conversational you could be, the better. Sometimes you can ask them what things made sense or clicked or didn't. But honestly, even while you're teaching your framework, you can still check in with them. You can still share with them. You don't have to teach at someone, but you can coach them through the process. You can give them suggestions on how these things can apply to each person. And that's going to be extremely helpful a lot when going through this process. Now, that's when you have your first session, or let's say your first 8 weeks, or however long however many steps in your framework, that's how many weeks generally you're going to be training that will eventually become a course. Let's say you finalize those recordings and that has become a part of a full-fledged program in of itself. Now you have 2 routes to take. You can either create another program that's going to solve another problem, like a nutrition path, or you could be an exercise program, or it could be a different portion, or maybe like a sister disease or sickness, something similar that some of your ideal clients are going to have, but you're going to deep dive on that. You can go into creating another program that you're able to provide as paths, if you will. Or you can switch to another format that I like to call office hours. And in the office hours session, the way that you structure that is that you're able to help where the initial people have already gone through. It might be a person or it might be a couple people, but they've already gone through. You got your on-demand coaching. You give access to your new clients coming in. Then you have each person go through that initial path, that roadmap that you gave them in the first few weeks. Now you have office hours that if they get stuck along the way, you're still coaching them through that roadmap, but you are having them ask their questions. So I like to start with sharing weekly wins, saying what progress have we made? What victory have you had this last week or this last sessions, or as you've been going through? What breakthroughs have you had? Because these weekly wins help train your client to be in a momentum, to recognize progress. And if they feel that there's no progress or they don't have progress, a lot of times people might want to minimize the progress that they've made. This is where you can actually coach them on the value of progress and how to build momentum in their health and their fitness and their weight loss. Because beating themselves over the head, never are we going to shame our way into results. It's by learning how to shift our perspective so that we can recognize even small progress. Even if we got to get the magnifying glass out to find progress, it's that what gets rewarded gets repeated. I mean, we're so much more motivated to make progress when we see it, right? So sharing weekly wins creates a culture of progress and action implementation. So that's something that I like. And then the second is I'll open up the time for Q&A. Instead of diving into a framework, I like to ask, like, who has questions during the week that we can go through. and people can ask. And sometimes that's the entire session. Sometimes just answering the Q&As is exactly what we cover there. And other times, if there's not as many questions during these office hours, then what I'll do is I'll teach other parts of the framework, or use that time to be able to create another program, or to be able to address frequently asked questions. But what you want to do is you want to think about, when choosing the topics to cover for your little flock. I look at this as like a little flock, that it's like I am shepherding, or I'm helping them, guiding to green pastures, right? You want to think about, what are the challenges they're facing? What are the hangups, the obstacles? What are the lies that maybe have held them back? Or what things can add value? Because every coaching call, you want to solve a specific problem. What problem that is relevant, relatable right now, could we solve for them in a way that will help them move through the roadmap to results that you made previously? You're helping them to get from one milestone to the next milestone. So it's not just haphazard or on anything and everything. You're still following your framework, but you're working with each person and saying, where are they at? How can I get them to the next step? What will it take to get from step 3 to step 4? And let's coach about this. And as you go back and forth, one question that's really powerful is, what do you find most challenging about consistently doing the exercise? Or what obstacles have you faced in switching your diet, or applying this new nutrition plan? And then you're going to get some gold. And based on some of the challenges they face, you look for solutions, look for ways that might fit theirs. And you can ask, like, you can see the readiness for change. Say, on a scale from 1 to 10, how ready are you to be able to make this change? And they could say, like, well, I'm a 7 or a 10. And if they're high, then you're like, okay, great, let's go forward. If they're low, you could say, well, what would it take to get the number higher? And you could still be able to uncover the real hangups that prevents people from moving forward. That's very helpful, very valuable. And think about too, that when you're doing group coaching sessions, one thing I've learned, I'll be honest, the first like 50 or 80 of those coaching sessions, it was challenging for me. It was like, no one gave me a handbook or a guide and said, hey, these are the things to engage. I like to strive to make it a goal to engage as many of them as I can. I like to make it a goal that if I know that one person is asking a question and it relates to someone else, like there's an overlap, a lot of people often think, well, I'm the only one who has this problem, but it's just not true. So by normalizing the problems that people are coming to you with and saying, who else here wants to know the answer to this question? Who else here has also gone through a similar experience? Type me in the chat, and you could see that other people are finding value from their question. And you could even ask, who else here has been able to get answers to questions you didn't even know to ask? And then other people start raising their hands. And so it helps to create the safe place to be able to speak. Or let's say you're talking to one person. What I like to do is, like, that is a time where you could do hot seat coaching. What's called hot seat coaching, where you're able to do one-on-one coaching still with people, but now you're doing it in a group. So I'm still having a conversation with one person. I'm specializing the knowledge, the suggestions, the advice to that individual. And by working with that one person, other people benefit, other people gain value, and they're recorded. They're put in the members area. So other people who go through, maybe at a different tier, they're able to learn and grow from those coaching calls. So there's a lot of leverage, a lot of impact that's blessing a lot more clients by doing it this way. But I'm still doing a one-on-one coaching in this group Zoom environment. So then people are able to get a lot more value through that than if I was just doing one-on-one and not recording. A lot of times people don't even know what questions to ask. So by learning as a fly on the wall from other people, that it opens the door for group education, which we're social creatures, and we do so much better with accountability and stories and different examples. You become a better coach because now you're applying these frameworks to different people's scenarios. And what you can do is, as you're coaching one person, you might say, this also applies to this person. I think you would find value. Or if you're still coaching the same person, you're like, oh, this third individual, this applies to you in this way. So you guys see how this could help you in the different scenarios you're in? And You want to like normalize the questions, normalize the answers. We're doing this live now. So people are saying yes in the chat. They're like, yes, I've gone through this. I've experienced this. So this is how you can handle office hours in a group setting. And there are some distinctions on one-on-one client work, but these are the type of skills that pay the bills. Learning group coaching can radically not only transform your life, but it can transform your client's life too. So the second tip that I have is to use this simple structure for each session. And you could modify and find what works best for you, but these are two formats that I found work exceedingly well for creating programs. And then also, question number 3 is well, before that, someone in the comment, they said, do I still do one-on-one also? Well, I charge $3,000 for one-on-one consultation. That's not something that I'm particularly wanting to like advertise or let people know or do. Occasionally I will do one-on-one work with someone, but what I just share is like, you can get a lot more access instead of just paying by hourly or doing that one-on-one. We could work together multiple times throughout the year. If you just join my group coaching program, then we'll be able to have a lot more time to work together. So yeah, it's available. It's not something that I pursue or really like advertise much, but yes, I do sometimes. And then so the third step is to follow a framework that gives your clients a roadmap to results. Now, I mentioned briefly about when you're clear on that roadmap, one thing you will find that about 80% of what you teach is going to be the foundational principles that apply to each person. So if you have principles about weight loss through following an anti-inflammatory diet, then in this diet, there's going to be about 80% of what you're sharing applies to each person, because the principles of healing existed for hundreds of years. They're not new. They're principles that apply to human physiology. Now, there is going to be about 20% that is truly unique to an individual situation or case. So what you do is, like we mentioned before, in those first 8 weeks, you cover the 80% foundational things. The 20%, you could open the floor for Q&A or office hours, but still those 20% is very unique, where you're doing one-on-one with the person. That is where you're able to answer those unique questions, but you're doing it in a way that it expands the value, it expands the mileage of your message so that it helps more people and blesses them. So the key thing is that you want to be able to create this roadmap to results that you're coaching them through your framework. It's not just random, whatever topics come up. You're not going into a chit chat where you're just chatting with them endlessly. You're still structuring the process to see where someone's stuck and helping them to get unstuck and break through their limitations and reach the results they're looking for. But you're able to do this in a group. And by having that framework, it really simplifies so much of your coaching. And that's why I see a lot of coaches, they don't have a framework. And on YouTube, I have a video you could check out. It actually shows you my framework for creating frameworks, how you can create this roadmap to results. The video is called "How I Automated My Coaching and Doubled My Income." I call this in my book on the book on high ticket health coaching. I call this the automation effect. By automating what you're going to coach, what you're going to teach, because it's all part of the same framework, it really simplifies your role as a coach. And it allows you to be ready always to give an answer and to help people to get consistent results, because you've got a proven path that you're taking people through. So does teaching the foundations in a group coaching sound doable? How many of you see that this is doable? Type yes in the chat if this is starting to make sense. So the third tip, what we see is just to recap what we've covered today, is number 1 is don't be afraid to start with one person in your group coaching. There's actually benefits of beginning that's better for you and for your clients, and that's totally fine. And then number 2 is you can use a simple structure for each session. Excuse me. By simplifying this, it really makes it easier for you to show up, shine, do what you do best, change people's lives. And it helps your clients to know what to expect too and create that culture of momentum. And number 3 is follow a framework that gives your clients a roadmap to results. When you have this roadmap, even the session structure that I gave you in step 2 is a framework. That's a framework for coaching sessions. Have many frameworks for like intermittent fasting, if you teach that, or for your detox juicing, frameworks for different recipes. A recipe is a framework too. But whatever the case is, there's frameworks for health, and that's what you want to basically create and teach from frameworks. And actually what I do is each month I go live and we get on Zoom, and I work I work closely with health educators to master their marketing so they can bring their health message to the masses and monetize your knowledge online. If you're interested in joining one of my coaching sessions, you could see what this is like. And a lot of times I'll be very generous for people in the VIPs session to join and you can get your specific questions answered in our High Income Health Expert Challenge. And really, it's only $49. One of the reasons people like to go here is because it's one of the fastest, the only ways to be able to work with me at this capacity. It's for 5 days, and people go through this and health educators don't come back the same. They're equipped with how to get new clients, how to sell while serving people at the highest level, and answering a lot of questions that a lot of health educators have. You can literally ask me anything you'd like about business, about marketing, group coaching, or one-on-one coaching, or how to get your first clients or your next clients. These are the lessons that I learned where I'm pulling back the curtains of my millionaire mentors and showing you exactly what I've learned, what I've applied to make over $500,000 in our health education business. And you could attend. Just go to highincomehealthexpert.com or text the number on the screen. We'd be happy to help you get started. We do this the first Thursday of every month. So subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's more videos like this that we drop every Tuesday. And we'd love to see you get your message to the masses. But until next time, remember, friends, God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. Have a great day, and God bless.